That's right. This is the final drive because I'm selling the Ford EB Fairmont. Now, you might think, Max, why are you selling it? You know, you love this car, and I do. This was my daily for the better part of 6 months now, and it never let me down. It was always flawless, and it just shows a 1989 design car you can still daily in 2024, because with the cruise control, the automatic climate control, and everything else, this is actually quite a luxurious car even for today's standards. But the reality is that doesn't change the fact that it's still a 4-litre inline-6 manual engine with a diff dumpy. It's loud, it's a bit rough, it's on king springs slammed on its balls, but you know what? I absolutely love this car while I had it, and it's time for it to go somewhere else, because now I have the VT Calais as my new daily, which I'm absolutely loving and is now registered. A video will come soon. I've also got the WRX in my garage, which I can drive anytime now, and it's registered again and all running and fixed up. That means with those two cars, there's just not much need for this third car. It's not a great daily. It's a good daily, but the Calais is better. It's automatic, it's newer, it's nicer. It's not a great weekend car. Yes, it's fine. Yes, it kicks out. Yes, it has an LSD. But the WRX, I will pick the keys to the WRX any day. The time to drive this car, there's just not that many opportunities. And in my life, I've just bought a house. I have 2 other cars to pay. Having the extra money for something like this, I would just rather the money and put it into a Calais, you know, and like, who knows? These aren't going up that crazy in value. So maybe we'll revisit an EB or an ED, maybe a Fairmont GR, maybe an XR8. I really do like XR8s. I love Ford V8, so who knows? Maybe we'll go for one of those Winslow 5-litre engines and see what all the hype's about. Because I've never owned a V8 before actually, so you never know what the future holds. I always wasn't a massive fan of Holdens. I always wasn't a massive fan of 3.8 Ecotechs, so I bought a Calais because that's who I am. I like to try things I don't particularly know. So I'll say goodbye, but not goodbye forever. A final look at the car, you know. I love that it's got the ELGT wheels, lowered LSD. I love that it was in white. You know, even the tyres, they're brand new. The 4-litre inline-6 underneath, you know, on club permit. This car it's actually a very straight car, you know. And then this is the absolute reason I bought this thing. Look at that. Look at that interior, manual, cruise control, automatic climate control, aftermarket head unit. That's a nice interior. You look at this is an 89 model interior. You look at the VL, I've owned a VL. This shits all over a VL interior in my opinion. Like, just look at that. Even coming into the back seats, you know. Oh, I locked the car. But look at them. Those are beautiful, most comfortable back seats I've ever sat in. I truly will miss this thing, but you know, the time has come. Like, it actually just has come, where it's time to say goodbye to a beautiful car. But in saying that, having owned such an old car and dailying it, I've put a fair few kilometers on it, probably 30,000. Perfect time to show you guys what goes wrong with a 1992 EB Fairmont when you're daily driving it, and all kind of Falcons from this year. And let me say, it ain't really much. It ain't much if you look after it, I should say, and especially if you garage it. When I first bought this car, TPS sensor in straight away, throttle position sensor, was running like a bag of dogs. Again, stuff like that will go wrong. The T5 manuals are notorious for throwing gears, notorious for it. So again, expect that stuff to go. Also, this engine, as strong as it is, everyone likes turboing it. Once you push it after 300 kilowatts, you're gonna start looking at blowing your block. Like, it's that simple. Like, they're great engines, but if you're going stock block, chuck a turbo on it after 300 kilowatts, you're getting a bit dicey there. Other than that, it's really just the basics, keeping up with servicing, and you'll honestly be just fine. The biggest issue I ever had on this car was this brake caliper. It always screamed, the brakes always stuck, and it was a pain in the ass. So I tried replacing the pads rotors. I even bought some for the car, but the caliper bunted itself. So it wouldn't push the cylinder in or out. So I just took the actual rotor out and left the pads. So there's no actual rear brake here anymore because the caliper shut itself. You know, and that's just some basic stuff that goes wrong. And then the interior, let's move into that. Next is inside the interior. Now, to be honest, a fair bit does go wrong in here, and I would say it's mainly age related. And if you compare it to a Mercedes-Benz of the same year, it's pretty reliable in here. We'll start with the basics. Audio stops working, it's stuck. Next thing, cruise control always goes. And that's because this clock spring here, where the cruise control button's mounted to the thing, it's like a metal connection and it always just gets debris and gunk and that screws it. So you just have to take it off, pretty simple. These seats, they're manual, but the gears that move them up and down always go. So this one's stuck on the same height all the time. Oh, window switches always go. These regulators go all the time. And if it's not the regulator, it's a switch. Again, the gunk builds up. So stuff like that. Again, basic stuff. I had to replace the screen in my car because the factory one stopped working as well. The speakers always blow because they're 30 years old and you try and put the bass up and then that goes. My AC doesn't work and it never has worked. Again, another thing that's just notorious for going, AC stopped working. Realistically, if you're keeping up with the servicing and you're keeping on top of things, you really should not have an issue. To be honest, that's kind of all the problems I've run into. Except for the basics like rust and stuff like that, as long as you look after the car and it's not sitting outside for 30 years straight, they're pretty bloody good with rust. But I'll show you where it isn't. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I painted over this about 3 times already, 3 separate occasions, because this quarter panel here always rusts out, just like the surface, and it eats away and just keeps worse and worse. So there's Bondo under here, and then I paint it, and then the paint chips like you can see, and then I paint it again. Oh, it's just a pain in the ass. But yeah, that's the rust. This spot here always rusts. EB's notorious for it. But that's really it, because the reality is about these Fords, they were made in Geelong, hour drive from where I live, right? For Australians, by Australians. They were made for these conditions. This is not a Japanese or European import, which you jump on these roads and the suspension starts knocking off its tits because it's not used to our shitty roads. Or, you know, you sit them outside and they start rusting because they're from a country where rust just doesn't happen, it doesn't rust like that. No, they're built by Australians for Australia, and we don't really get that bad conditions. Sure, our sun is serious and does mess paint up, but as far as mechanically, it really just doesn't impact it. So, it is very sad to see this car go, but its time has come, and I see it as more of an opportunity for the next car to come along, which is the VT, and I've got a lot of really exciting things coming for that thing. So for now, it's more of a goodbye, but not forever. But I will miss you, EB Fairmont. You were fantastic.